What's up YouTube, Pete Ripper here, back with the first of what will probably be a few extra videos for Mega Man Battle Network 3. I'm only going to be talking about one folder today, partly because there are a few other things I want to talk about, and also because I don't have the correct style I need for some of the other folders. As you can see here, I am still Wood Custom. Unfortunately, I actually need Elect Custom for one of the folders I'll be showing off. So the folder I'm going to be showing off today is Flash Rat, one of my favorites. But before we do that, I want to talk a bit about folder building in general, like what makes a good folder and what doesn't. For most players going through the game their first time, their first instinct is to build a folder and just put 25 of the strongest chips they have in it, and then 5 Navi chips with like the highest damage. While this is definitely enough to get through the game, like the main story the first time you play, especially in Battle Network 3, with an assortment of like ridiculously powerful chips. It's not really ideal. Not really for this or for any other Battle Network game. In general, when building a folder, there's 3 things you should always consider. Flow. How do I want to say this? Practicality and damage output. Flow is sort of the easiest to understand. A folder with a single code will flow much better than a folder with, you know, just a bunch of random codes in it. The ability to draw 5 chips at any given time will always be more powerful than the ability to draw just one randomly strong chip. And this is true even in the early game, when even very few powerful chips are available. A folder of 20 monocode and asterisk chips, and a few random coded powerful chips like Variable Sword, which is available somewhat early in the game, will always be better overall than a folder filled with stuff like Z-Cannon and Life Sword. Practicality is sort of harder to explain, but the idea is you want a folder that consistently manages to get its biggest attacks off without wasting multiple turns. Folders that rely on 4 to 5 chip combos to get off one attack generally won't be as strong as folders that consistently do damage with just about any opening draw. To this end, very few folders that rely on program advances as their main damage dealers are good. Like even my B code folder and Flash Rat, which I'll be showing off right now, falls somewhat into this, as they both consistently lose to the P code folder that I have in terms of just instant damage, due to the need of multiple chips just to get off a single attack. Other folders that are regarded as good but rely on program advantages, such as Disco Inferno or Big Heart, are actually worse in this regard, and I actually don't consider them very good myself. I won't be showing off either of those folders for that record, or for that instance, though I might at least sort of explain them and go over them kind of quickly at one point or another. Damage output, I feel, is actually the biggest one. Your folder can flow incredibly well with really easy combos, but it doesn't really mean anything if your damage output is super low and you can't actually kill anything with it. This is what ruins some codes, like the E code. E code has a bunch of really strong chips that are easy to acquire because you can either purchase them or they drop frequently, but they don't combo well together, and you just end up poking for around 100, 150, 200 damage depending at a time, and activating invincibility on Navis, which means you slow yourself down considerably. It doesn't make the code completely unusable, but it does severely hamper your ability to get quick deletion times and higher buster rankings. With all of that said, let's actually go over the folder itself real quick. So Flash Ratton revolves around exactly what you'd assume. Exactly what you'd assume. Rattons and Flashman. So the idea is pretty simple here. You've got 4 copies of Hyper Ratton, the 500 damage Ratton program advance. Metagels, just to sort of to steal down your enemies to smaller areas. Hyper Rat can miss, but if your opponent is down to a single panel or just a single row, it's highly unlikely it will ever miss. Fast Gauge as the preset, because this is a somewhat slower folder. As I mentioned earlier, it's not as strong as like the P-code folder, but even it's also lower damage than the B-code folder, which has full cust preset. As this one will pretty much always require multiple turns to deal enough damage to delete anything, and as such, full custom is not superior to have preset. Standard invincibility chips: 1 invis, 2 shadows, 1 mole, mole 2 asterisk. This is just what I happen to have. If I had another shadow asterisk, I would replace the mole 2 with it, but I don't, so there's that. And obviously, invis is still the strongest of the invincibility chips. I just happen to have 4 of them in my other folder right now, and I just didn't want to move them. This is sort of a preferential thing anyway, so it's not a big deal. Ice Stage to power up Flashman. He's not the main damage dealer, but being able to double his damage instantly is always good. 2 Elect 30s, 1 full cust, 1 attack plus 30, all 4 Flashmans, and I just realized I forgot something important. The Var Sword F is just sort of here as a placeholder. I actually forgot I could put the chip I needed to put in there right away. It is definitely not a terrible chip to have in the folder, because first off, you have Ice Stage, which means you'll increase the damage of the electric wave, which puts the overall damage, I want to say, at like 720, which on its own, obviously, that's an incredibly powerful chip. The 2 Elect 30s are actually filler. There's a couple other things you could do with this if you don't want to be running the Elect 30 chips, because, again, Flashman isn't your main damage dealer. They're not super useful. If you have Fire Custom Style as your style, you can replace these with Fire Rattons, which come in the F code, and do quite a lot of damage. So you can combo into those with Flashman if you just don't happen to draw into a Hyper Rat at the time. Again, Variable Sword F is also an incredibly good choice. Unfortunately, they're very difficult to get more than one of. You either have to trade or get super lucky in the Bug Frag Trader. Otherwise, you're likely not going to see more than one. Folder back is the Giga chip to have in this folder. There's not really anything else F code for Giga chips other than Flashman and Flameman, and a folder that relies on multiple program advances will always prefer to have the recycling ability of that chip and the ability to go quickly back to the custom screen. Alright, now with all of that said, let's actually show off the folder and make sure I actually use the folder, lest we see Plantman do his thing again. And let's beat up on Gutsman again, shall we? No such luck for the first draw, but that's not a big deal. I'm gonna go ahead and toss out. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I could have just. I'm dumb. I have the 11th chip glitch on, which means I actually do have access to a Ratton 1. I just forgot. Not that it's a big deal. So here's the basic idea for how this folder works. Flashman, Hyper Ratton, Full Cust. Why does it always seem to be Elect plus 30 as my 11th chip? Flashman, Hyper Ratton, Full Cust. Unfort, no more Hyper Rattons, but that's okay because we have an easy kill right here. Let's get some bug frags out of it, shall we? Alright, so that wasn't bad. We got some pretty good draws there. Under 10 seconds is always a good time for a kill, but that seemed a little too easy. Let's go fight someone just a little bit more dangerous, shall we? Also, while I'm heading out here, I want to mention, yes, I have seen the comments about the game audio. Sorry, there was nothing I could do to fix that. I turned down the game capture audio on OBS while I was streaming a little while back, and I forgot to ever put it back to regular levels. And as such, the game audio basically disappeared. It's not like a world-ending issue, but I do apologize for forgetting. Anyway, let's go over this way. And let's fight an enemy that seems just a little bit more dangerous. And unfortunately, since two of my invincibility chips are Shadow, which means he can actually hit me with them, this is actually going to be a little bit more difficult. Or at least it would be if I didn't already have this. So I'm not actually going to use Flashman right off the bat when I get him. It's always good to give it a little bit more time so we get closer to the... oh, that chip did nothing for me. Ooh, I really want to do that, but that's not going to work out right now. Ooh, I have 2 copies of this in here right now. Not bad. It's always better to wait on Flashman until you're a little closer to the custom gauge being full, so that you get the combo off without having to worry about it missing, or without your opponent without the opposing nabby breaking through. Unsurprisingly, he hit me. There's the area grab. There's another area grab. And there's another area grab. We've got all our program advances right here. Not even bad. If you are using the 11th chip glitch like I am, it would definitely be worth it to consider putting full custom as your preset glitch chip. I don't know why I just did that. I actually don't need to do that at all. I can just win the fight right here and be done with it. I don't believe... We're about to find out. It's been a little while since I've used this, but I don't believe Hyper Ratton activates invincibility frames either. It does not. Which is another thing that makes this folder very good. Any attacks that don't activate invincibility frames can be comboed incredibly well. So 14 seconds, not the worst, not the best. It's just a fun folder to mess around with. It's definitely never going to be as strong as the P folder, but it is definitely a very strong folder. It's also, unlike the B folder, pretty good at virus busting, because you have multiple copies of Flashman, obviously, which hits the whole screen. Wherein the B folder only has Proto-Mans 3 and 4 to hit multiple enemies. So it's got its strengths, it's got its weaknesses. It's just a fun folder to check out if you happen to be playing, and it's not particularly difficult to make. The one problem with it is I don't think Ratton 3 is available until after you beat the game. I think it is only available in Secret Area 1. But I might be wrong, there might be somewhere else it appears. I think maybe it appears in Undernet 7 is the only other place I could think of where it might appear. Which means if it does, this folder is actually buildable way before you beat the game. But that's going to be it for this one, guys. No, actually, hold on. There's one thing I want to talk about. So let me actually talk about this folder in terms of the three things I mentioned earlier: flow, practicality, and damage output. Obviously, flow is easy. I have nothing but F-code chips and some asterisks to fill it out. Practicality, like I said, even when I was talking about that, because it relies on a program advance, it can take multiple draws before you actually manage to get off your combo, which slows it down somewhat. It's clearly not as strong or as practical as the P code folder, aka best folder in the entire game. But because it relies on a 3-chip program advance, as opposed to some of the higher ones like 4-chip program advances like 2x Hero in B code folders, it still moves pretty quickly. Damage output is, despite everything, actually not the highest, not super high. 500 damage is the most you're going to be doing in this folder because Hyper Ratton only does 500 damage. Now, obviously, because you have multiple copies of it, you can get there pretty quickly. And if you have full custom set as your 11th chip glitch chip. That statement was way more difficult to say than it should have been. You can cycle through pretty quickly, but that said, one single Plasma 3 hitting the full amount possible, which is 6 times, does 540 damage on its own. So, again, when compared to the best thing in the game, it's not the best thing in the game. But it's a fun folder to check out. It's easy to build, and much easier to get than some of the chips that are in that are actually in the P folder. Plasma 3, I'm looking at you. You suck to get. But yeah, that's Flash Ratton, guys. Hopefully by the next part, I will have the elect custom style I need so I can show off all of the remaining folders I want to show off. But until then, thanks for watching. This has been Pink Reaper, signing out.